This one took place 2003. It's the summertime. Just gotten off the train station at Ronkonkoma and my mom didn't pick me up yet. She normally, I would get there and call her and she would pick me up because I used to work at the bar in New York City in like Midtown Manhattan on 72nd between Broadway and West End. It was called the Sugar Bar. And I would work there Friday nights, Saturday nights, and generally Saturday nights I would work until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I would catch about the 6:48, 7:20 train, depending on when I got there. Sometimes I would get later. So I would call my mom when I got to the Ronkonkoma train station and she'd pick me up. So must have been in these clothes for about a week now. I didn't really, because I worked every day, I wouldn't, hang them up, then go to bed. The next day I'd get up, I'd probably get up about 2 o'clock or so, get my clothes back on, same clothes, black, and go to the bar. And I did that Monday through Saturday. So I'm sitting there, and about this point, I probably lost about 20 pounds because I wasn't eating, wasn't showering, suppressed, didn't really talk to anybody. And my mom, every week I would come home and we'd probably go to some place. We were going to this place by Suffolk County Community College. I guess that's Center Reach, Suffolk County area. And it was a bunch of social workers, and I guess one of the things was, it was a mental health facility. And I was going there speaking to a social worker, and they would give me some, pills. I forget what it was antidepressants or something like that. And I would take them. Most of the time I wouldn't take them because I didn't feel that it was a chemical issue. I felt it was more situational, I guess. Not that that's a technical term, but that's what I thought it was. So this particular day, I kind of, call my mom. I'm sitting here just lying on the floor with my bag, and it was nice and warm out. And it must have been about 15 minutes. My mom, drives up, and am I out of frame? She picks me up, and she goes, "Hey, Rye, how's your day?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. How's yours?" She's like, "Oh, good, I missed you." I'm like, "Yeah, I miss you too, Mom. Glad to see you." She's like, "Well, thanks, Ron. I'm really glad to see you too." Then she looks at me. She's like, "You're really losing a lot of weight." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, "When was the last time you took a shower?" And I don't think I took a shower that week. One of the reasons was I was living with a female. Her name was Serena. And we were students together, so I knew her, but for some reason it just felt really weird living there. Like, I didn't feel like it was my place. I didn't feel right in taking a shower there because I didn't want to dirty it because I felt it was kind of her place. So I kind of had like a little corner by the window that was mine. But everything else was kind of hers, and I didn't really dirty it. I didn't go to the bathroom there. I went to the bathroom in Manhattan at my job. It was just weird. So my clothes were dirty, and I said, "Yeah, Mom, I haven't taken a shower this week." And she's like, "Well, how was work?" I'm like, "Yeah, work was okay. It was paid about, I don't know, $300 that day, so it was pretty cool for bartending." And she said, "I realize you've been depressed because of Rebecca, but it's been like 3 months now." And she's like, I think I want to have you evaluated." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, fine." So So let's go do that. And she's like, okay. So we get back to the house. My sister gets up. She says, hi, Ryan. It's nice to see you. I'm like, yeah, it's nice to see you too. So my mom kind of goes into her room. Desiree goes into her room, and I kind of fall asleep on the couch with Scamper, our fat cat. Scamper's a little gray cat, and she was funny. She would make these weird hissing noises, I guess. So, take a nap on the couch, and I guess I get up about, 2 o'clock or so, still in the same clothes, whatever, didn't really care. And she, I guess I get some neat, we get some neat, and she says, okay, well, we're gonna, go to Stony Brook Hospital and go to the place and we'll get you evaluated. And I still had no idea what this was. I kind of felt like it was the same thing as the other one at the place by Suffolk Community College. Go there, talk to somebody, tell them about my problems. I kind of do like talking about myself, so it wasn't a big deal. Pretty much everyone always asks about, what happened, and same shit. You sound like a really nice guy, you're really attractive, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're funny. I don't know what the problem is. Here's some pills. It's like, I don't want the pills, but I get it. I don't know what the deal is either. So I kind of felt like that's what it was. Cool deal. So I go there, and I've been to Suffolk Stony Brook Hospital before a few times. My brother was really interested in going there because of school. My sister's gone there because she broke her, something in her arm or shoulder because of a car accident. So I was used to going there. I've been there like 4 times already. But we kind of go to this other area that I've never really went into, but it was by the main hospital. So I go in there, and it was, not really different than any other place. It was kind of bright and white, and it had some, I guess, linoleum flooring. It was clean. Then we go through these doors, and, it's a big waiting area. Nobody's there. By myself with my mom, and we're sitting there, and this guard comes out. He's like, are you Ryan McKinney? I'm like, yeah. He's like, who's this? I'm like, it's my mom, Dawn McKinney. He's like, okay. So your mom's gonna wait out here, and we're gonna go through these doors. I'm like, okay. So my mom gives me a hug. She's like, yeah, I'll be out here, waiting for you. I'm like, okay. So we go into this other room. He's like, I'm gonna need you to take off your sneakers. I'm like, okay. He's like, you'll get them back when you leave. I'm like, okay. So this door that I just went through was opened. The door that I'm about to go through is locked from the outside. So I go in, and I can't get out. So we go in there, and it's all white. There's another door that we go through, and there's like an office here that I go through the door, and then I go through this door, and they had me get on some white gown that I got on. I had my underwear on, but I had this white gown, and I had to leave that there. And there's this guy kind of just stuttering back and forth. I'm sitting by myself. There's a guy here stuttering, and then there's a guy here off into another room over here. And he's just sitting there like this. This other guy is, stuttering and cursing every once in a while, back and forth. And I'm just kind of, sitting here like this, just not doing anything, because I didn't really know what to do. And he started to make me a little nervous, this guy. He wasn't doing anything to me, but it just started making me nervous because I'm like, why am I in this environment? And this other guy kind of, came in a little bit. He said, so what are you here for? I'm like, oh, I'm depressed, I guess. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, what are you in for? He's like, I set my mom's car on fire. okay. So what happened? She said, guys, she was just being a bitch, so I fucking set her car on fire. I'm like, alright. So he kind of goes back in there, and this other guy is still, stuttering around, and a nurse comes in, and she says, if you don't shut up, I'm going to inject you with something, and you're not going to be able to move. So I'm like, okay, fuck. So I kind of am anticipating what's going to happen. And I'm really not doing anything now because, first of all, I don't want to act up because I don't want to get fucking injected. And second of all, I can't leave, so even if I do act up, there's no point in it because I don't want to be, strapped into something where I can't move at all. So I'm kind of getting really small into the chair. And it must have been about 15 minutes or so that I'm just sitting there, and she finally says, okay, we're going to bring you to this other room. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, go in there, just sit there, make yourself comfortable. We'll be in there with you in 10 minutes or so. So I'm like, okay. So I'm in this other room, by myself. It's a chair like this, a table, then a stairway. There's another desk over here with another chair. And the door over here. This door is also locked from the outside too, so I can't get out either of this room. So, she kind of comes in and she's like, what's your name? I'm like, Ryan McKinney. She's like, what are you here for? I'm like, well, guess I've been a little bit depressed. She's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to, ask you some routine questions. I'm like, okay. She's like, how old are you? How old are you? I'm like, I'm 26. She's like, what's your sex? I'm like, a male. What's your birth date? October 15th, 1981. Where do you live? Selden, New York. She's like, okay. So, have you ever been molested? No. Have you ever wanted to hurt anybody? No. Have you ever thought about killing yourself? Yes. And about this time, I'm getting really nervous. I didn't think that it was wrong to have those thoughts. I kind of felt like most people, if they're normal, have thought this at one point in their life or another. But I was extremely nervous about saying it because I kind of felt like the admission of it was going to get me to stay here longer than I wanted to. She's like, okay. And at this time I was kind of getting a little bit tense and I started shaking a little bit. Then she goes on to proceed, are you sexually active? Yes. When was your last girlfriend? About 4 months ago. Have you ever been sexually active with men? No. Have you ever had sex from the anus? No. Have you ever had a threesome? No. Have you ever used drugs? No. Have you ever drank? No. What's your family life like? It's okay. Did your father drink? Yes. Was he an alcoholic? Yes. Probably. He never said it, but he was. How's your mother? Then she kind of goes back into, about my depression. Have I ever formulated a plan to carry out this suicide? And at that point I was kind of really shaken because, I've thought about it. I thought about cutting myself or throwing myself out the window, or I kind of lived on the second, third story of my apartment complex. I used to look outside. So then I start crying. She's like, "Well, what's the matter?" I'm like, "Well, because if I keep answering these questions, you're gonna keep me here, and I want to be here." So she's like, "Well, just answer them as truthfully as you can." I'm like, "Well, I'm in a fucking room now that I can't get out of, and my mom's on the other side, so I can't get out of here." And she's like, "I realize it's stressful, but you need to calm down." I'm like, "I can't fucking calm down. What do you want me to do?" So she's like, "Okay, well, I just have a few more questions for you." And I don't remember what the fucking questions were, but, I calmed down, I stopped crying. She's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I just kind of want to leave." And she's like, "Okay." So, kind of go in the other room. And the guy's still fucking stuttering around. And the other guy's he's gotten a little bit agitated now. He's cursing in the other room. So I'm still sitting there, not doing anything. And, I kind of sit there for a little bit longer. And then the guard comes in. He's like, "Okay, so we're going to go in the other room now. You're going to get your stuff. And, you're free to go." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." So I get my stuff, walk out the door. My mom's still sitting there, and, I'm like, "Thanks for your time. Nice meeting you." And, she's sitting there, and she's got like this guilty look at her face. And she's like, "How'd it go?" "Fine." "Mom?" "If you ever want to have me evaluate again, I'm never going to come home. I never want to come here again. I don't care what happens." Um, I don't ever want to come here again. And, she's like, "Well, what happened?" I'm like, "Well, they kind of put me in this room that I couldn't get out of, and, there was this other guy doing this thing and this guy doing this thing, and then they come bring me in this other room and, asked me all these questions." And I was like, "It's kind of messed up, because if I did anything, I wouldn't be able to see you, and you kind of brought me here. Why the fuck would you bring me here if you couldn't get me out, Mom?" And she's like, "Well, I'm really sorry, Ryan, but I didn't know what else to do." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fine." And, got in the car and didn't talk the rest of the way home. And that was it. So that was when I was evaluated.